Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. My visit from the Shadow Man. This is my first serious post on Reddit, so please ignore the hiccups. 3 years ago, my partner and I, just moved into a new apartment. Our previous place was located in the same apartment complex, but we decided to transfer to a cheaper unit due to financial issues. The new space was smaller, but we remained optimistic, seeing as we could move at any time if our money situation improved. Mind you, we never experienced any paranormal or strange activity while living in our previous unit, but something about this new apartment felt off. For the 2 years spent in our previous place, I never felt the energy shift like it did after we first walked through the door of the new flat. I brushed it off as anxiety due to stress of moving and continued to unpack and arrange our new dwelling. We worked tirelessly over 3 days setting everything up, and by the end of our laboring, we simply passed out in the sloppy made bed. It felt good to finally sleep in an actual bed again, seeing as a simple air mattress had been our cot for the past 2 nights. Due to the exhaustion, I quickly fell into a deep sleep. I was transported into our new apartment, although there was a fog about the floor which obscured all of our furnishings. This was strange, but I rolled over, still in the dream, to fall back asleep. All of a sudden, a jolt of energy passed through me, sending an electric feeling up and down my spine. I found that I was back in the foggy version of our apartment, but my bedroom door was now open. I sat perpendicular to my bed, the blanket still covering the lower half of my body. The perspective of the open doorway from my bedroom allowed me to see into the living room, where I noticed a flashing light casting rapidly against the far wall. I was intrigued and frightened at the same time, so I forced myself under the covers to return to sleep, although this time I wasn't able to. I waited under the covers for what seemed like an eternity, until I gathered enough strength to face this mysterious light. I quickly stood up from the bed, casting the blankets towards my sleeping partner. Now that I think of it, I'm not sure why I didn't try to wake him. I slowly made my way to the bedroom doorway, wrapping my fingers around the frame to bolster my head around to see the source of this light. A man, more like the figure of one, sat in a simple wooden chair facing away from me. The chair was set at the far end of the room, the light flashing from his face. I don't know why, but at this moment all fears subsided and I simply walked, almost automatically, into the room until I stood behind the figure. I didn't attempt to speak to it or interact with it in any way. I was overcome with curiosity and simply wanted to see what the face looked like. I took a few more steps and peered around to see a display, almost like that of an old cathode ray television, flashing grainy images of faces I've never seen before. These images were shown on a seemingly projected surface that hovered over the being's featureless face. The unknown faces appeared in a quick succession, each barely made out before the next was casted. I stood in awe as the pace of the flashing quickened while the figure remained completely motionless. It was at this time I started to become dizzy, my head spinning as I focused on the bright projections. I wasn't sure how much more I could take before I soon found myself back in my bed, my heart pounding while my body lay paralyzed. It was clearly almost dawn due to the singing of birds outside and the faint light of the morning sun filtering through the skylights, casting a dim glow over the living room. I attempted to get up, nothing. I sighed deeply, instantly realizing that I was having a sleep paralysis episode. Having suffered from sleep paralysis since childhood during times of stress and high anxiety, I instantly began my calming techniques to relax and prevent panic. At the point that I finally opened my eyes after performing some breathing exercises, I noticed a shadowy figure lurking in the corner of the room, just like in my dream. It was completely black, a soft haze emitting from the limbs and head. I couldn't tell if the being was malicious or not, and I didn't care to find out. I couldn't speak, but I distinctly remember thinking, "You are not welcome here. I will not allow you to exist in my home," repeatedly until my body fell limp and I re-awoke in my bed. It was now morning and my partner was cooking breakfast in the kitchen. The smell of eggs and coffee was comforting, but I was experiencing these sensations via a new medium. I could feel the descent as I settled back into the bed, almost as if I were rejoining my physical body. I have dabbled in astral projection, but have yet to successfully project. I suppose this is what it feels like to snap back into your body. My body felt limp, a slight electrical buzz emanating from my bones and exiting via my skin. It was the strangest sensation I've ever felt in my entire life. I remember trying to operate my phone, but I was unable for some reason. The device felt foreign to me as I typed in my passcode incorrectly a number of times. My partner entered the room, his voice grounding me to physical realm with a simple "Are you okay?" It took me a moment to respond, "I think so." I'm not sure what that entity was trying to convey or what its purpose was. I haven't seen it since that night. Hell, I don't know if this is the right subreddit to post this in, but something I saw on TV recently brought back all of these feelings, and the memories of that shadow man stood in the corner of my room. Thanks for reading. Thank you, Justmijosh, the author. Things happened recently. So let me start by saying everything is 100% true, as I experienced it or was told. Anyway, I was really close to my maternal grandparents. They were like second parents. My granddad died when I was 7 and weird stuff happened then, like phone calls with no one on the line to the house, my grandma getting a text from her own phone with my granddad's initials, etc. Anyway, my grandma moved in with us and lived with me, my mom and sister for the last 10 years. She passed away this year. I asked her to give me a sign when she's gone because I'm unsure about the afterlife and its existence. She was very religious and she swore she would send a sign. Anyway, she passed away in our house in the early hours. Strangely, that day had for the next few days my mom's boyfriend and 2 uncles' phones were messing up, like all glitching, phone calls weren't working or anything. Then around twice, my dog would look down the hallway, my grandma's room was down the hall, and began growling as though something was there. Then on top of that, there was a certain vibe. I know the feeling, it happened when my granddad passed, there's just a certain vibe, as though the atmosphere has changed. Strangely, there was no atmosphere upstairs in my room and my mom's room, but downstairs, where my grandma passed, there was a heavy feeling. I can't explain. My mom and sister also swore they kept getting wafts of my grandma's perfume blow past them. Then one night, I came downstairs to sit with my mom and mom's boyfriend and watch TV. They were telling me about how the smart meter, the thing that measured the TV stuff, I don't know really, had gone off earlier, which was the first time in the last few years they had it that it had gone off. Then, only a few minutes later, it went off. My mom turned it back on, and 30 seconds later, it turned off again. I said it could be a coincidence though. So my mom said that if it was my grandma, could she do it again? And around 50 seconds later, it turned off again. It happened a few more times, and I was slightly freaked out, I won't lie. Eventually, we left it off. Then, my mom's boyfriend's phone, which was on the side, randomly switched on and was playing music. A song none of us even knew, which was strange, and then my mom's boyfriend turned off the TV, and not 5 seconds later, it turned itself back on. I felt really on edge, and my mom said maybe stuff wasn't happening to me with my phone because my grandma knows it freaks me out and doesn't want to scare me. Nothing happened after that until what I'll say next. Anyway, some time passed, and by this point it had been a few weeks since her passing, and we had her funeral a few days before, and at any time she was to be or being cremated. Then one night the power just cut off, just in our house. But what was weird was some of the power worked, as if some of the lights and some of the plugs, but a lot of plugs and lights didn't work too, and no electrical devices worked. We sat around all day, and by evening we were, me, my mom, my sister, my mom's boyfriend and my sister's boyfriend, were sat in the living room with candles as our light. My mom rang an electrician we knew, and he said he was baffled because the way the power was messing up in some places and not in others was weird, and it would mean that we had messed wires in different areas of the house. We hoped it wasn't anything bad, and my mom fully believed it was my grandma. Anyway, another few hours of us sitting in the dark, and all of a sudden, the power comes back on. The lights, plugs, electrics all start working. My mom then thinks, wait, your grandma was getting cremated sometime around this week. So my mom theorizes it was my grandma's last goodbye as she was being cremated, because it's been a few weeks since the cremation and nothing's happened. The atmosphere left, and now the house feels normal again. No more electrical wires messing up, no more power outages. My mom is convinced it was my grandma's farewell and her sign to us that the afterlife is real. What do you guys think? Thank you, Nathan03, the author. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please, be safe.